in the formulation of the Constitution, the Constitution we're enjoying, presented his thoughts on the same. At the same time, he's been a journalist, and he's also doing works when it comes to construction. So the guy wears so many hats, and he's a political analyst. Welcome, Murray.
Thank you very much.
On this particular day, we probably approach him from constitutional political analyst.
most obliged.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that great introduction. We're not used to such, but hopefully, maybe when we grow up, it's going to be, entitled. I'll be entitled to that fully. But I do appreciate, because that describes who I am. I'm so grateful. Good morning, Kenya, and welcome.
Now, a lot of things happening for the last couple of weeks. We've had a ping pong between the judiciary and the National Police Service, with the Inspector General Police being told, you have to appear and answer for people who have disappeared. Incidentally, he has failed to appear, constantly sending his juniors. And now, the National Police Service is being accused of pulling security from the Chief Justice and also, judicial officers. What do you read of this? Is it just happenstance, or is this a way of flexing their muscle?
Well, it's a wrong way of flexing the muscles, especially the side of the executive, because the executive itself, we talk about the police. This is an organ that is under the judiciary, under the executive, whose leader is the president. And so whatever action that may be done by the juniors, they must be okayed by the top leadership. And that is so sad, because summoning the president, the police commissioner, the inspector general.
Yes.
The Constitution is very clear that the only person who is immune to any form of litigations of whatever nature is only the president, and the person who also performs the duties of the president, and that happens to be the deputy president. These are the people who, within their tenure, are protected. Everybody else, not that they're above the law, they're not above the law, but they are...
They enjoy some sort of immunity while in office.
They actually absolved from any form of cases or appearance in court until their term is over.
Yes.
But any other person, since all of us are under the law, is obligated to appear before any court upon court summons that are issued. So any court summons that is issued, I think it's supposed to be adhered to. Otherwise, it will be interpreted to be tantamount to something we call a contempt of court. And contempt of court, in simple terms, is disrespecting the law that governs that court.
And the chief, the Inspector General has done that for some time now. Every time he's given summons to appear in person, he does not appear. Now, the million-dollar question is, as he does this, what message is he sending to us?
Ask yourself why this is turning into a judiciary versus the executive.
Yes.
You see, we're talking about the head of the judiciary who is being attacked, not the law that has summoned the chief inspector that is being challenged. They are challenging the executive. That's what I'm saying, the head of judiciary, that is the chief justice. That tells you that the game is far bigger than this one. And there are also other things that are attached to what is so-called the planning of the exit of the Chief Justice, Martha Koome. These are things that maybe we'll delve into much later, because even religious agenda is also in it. So you may see the pressure piled up, and much as we know, Martha Koome is a no-nonsense person, and she's not really into matters of corruption. Ever since, we have not seen her, attached to any form of corruption, unless they bring it on today. They bring it up today. So what we know is that it's the judiciary versus the executive, and much as they are equal entities in the government set up, of course, that's what we say. They are independent, not equal. Independent. The executive, the judiciary. That equality thing does not really work, because you see, when you're depending on me to fund you, it means you'll have to you suck up to me. So that's the only way. Look up to the person who takes care of you. So if the budget is managed, the resources that are supposed to run the judiciary are coming from the executive, definitely the executive comes out more powerful, because in any case the Constitution grants the executive or the head of executive power to manage the resources and the treasures of this country. So when we come to the judiciary, their responsibility, primary responsibility, is implementation of the law. But the management of the resources and the well-being of a country in terms of peace, all is under the executive. So you can see he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, talking of the president, and the chief justice is there to implement and interpret the law and handle matters concerning presidential elections and such, because there are very few that are spelled out. So the equality thing really does not hold water.
How do you see this playing out finally? Because with now the security being pulled out from the Chief Justice, and the Inspector General is very funny. I mean, the excuse he gave was that they pulled these officers
for training.
Yeah, for training, for promotions. As in, the timing is so suspect. You just pull them when you're being summoned to appear in court. And then you pull security from the chief. What would happen if it would be really crazy if something was to happen to the Chief Justice.
Even if they were doing replacement and training and whatever, the replacement was supposed to be synchronized. It means you remove, and at the same time there's a replacement. But you don't keep me for hours or days until I shout. Then you can bring the replacement. As a matter of fact, it was only a promise that she was given that they'll be coming. The replacement will be coming to her presence. So this is what I'm trying to say, that there is some kind of foul play against the head of judiciary, trying to cause some bit of intimidation, because the judiciary is expected by the executive to do all clean and dirty work of the executive, by the executive, through now the judiciary. And so if you seem to be adamant somehow and stiff-necked, they'll try and break it.
When I look at the judiciary, I mean, and I don't expect her to be a Maraga. I don't expect her to be, but under her tenure, the judiciary has been very corrupt. In fact, she herself has alluded to the fact that there's corruption within the judiciary, with judicial officers. In fact, I remember I was talking to one of the lawyers who told me that if you go to one of the courts in Kenya, there is a clerk that is known by all the lawyers. That if you want to have anything done within that circle, all you need to do is see him and induce him with some money, and you will get your
You'll break the law with that guy.
You'll get your orders pretty fast.
He's called a contact person. For all judges and also lawyers. So it's a cartel.
Now, if I'm asking myself, I'm asking myself that if I know about it, these lawyers know about it, surely the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission must know about this.
But they would definitely expect them to be also dependent of the same judiciary in case one is caught on the wrong. So they wouldn't go victimizing these people.
So they also use the Anti-Corruption Commission would probably use the corrupt clerk to get their...
Absolutely. In most places where you see the tag, a corruption-free zone, usually ends up to be the most corrupt. You know? But that's where we are. Spiritually, if you look at what our Lord, our Master, Jesus Christ said, is that hypocrisy is worse than witchcraft. And that is something that should come into play at this time, actually is into play at this time. Everybody pretends to be nice, but it's about preaching water and drinking wine. You know, if you look at the Rigathi Gachagua case, there are some judges who sat for that case, and they were accused of something I would call conflict of interest, because they have something they're protecting for their own personal reasons, and the Chief Justice had no power to even overturn the appointment of those judges. So that is why I'm saying that to a certain extent, I think this is a power game, and this power game now they're diverting a bit into why she has to go and why Ahmed Nasir has to be used into this thing. I have made reference.
Why the Chief Justice has to go?
She has to go. She has to go. She will. There'll be too much force and power.
There are two individuals,
exactly.
and rightly so, two individuals who have highlighted the corruption within the judiciary. Ahmed Nasir has been speaking a lot, not just this time. Every time there are corrupt, situations within the judiciary, he speaks out. So there's
but on
been
the same corruption, he
Nelson
was also stopped from appearing in court. I mean, as a lawyer, practicing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Which is unconstitutional. As in, how do you stop somebody from coming to appear in the Supreme Court simply because he said, you're corrupt? You should prove him wrong instead of buying him from appearing before you.
Maybe I think they avoided to, expose the rot in the JSC because he still sits in the JSC.
Who?
Ahmed Nasir.
No,
I think
he
still
doesn't.
sits. He doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Now, Ahmed Nasir at that time
He used to sit.
he used to sit at the JSC.
Yeah, during his.
Now,
yeah.
you see, when they would, if they would expose the likes of Ahmed Nasir, they know that an outburst by Ahmed Nasir would expose too many things. So the best thing is to deal with him that one blow and then cover up. Let this thing not go on. And Ahmed Nasir is coming out so strongly. And I don't want to say that he's as clean, because every Kenyan, even like I was telling you about, even the constitution making, there is money that was, changing hands. Supporters of this one will vote if we vote for you.
Yeah.
Will vote for your agenda in this case. And that's why I'm saying that even the religious organizations had to partner with certain political parties to have their agenda go through.
Let's come back to what
to the judiciary,
alluded to, that the Chief Justice might not last long.
I'm looking at it from this perspective. There are rumors running around that guys from Somalia and other regions, especially Somalia, are actually getting identity cards. And this a similar thing that we saw, I think, around 2012 or 2007, towards the 2012 elections, we saw these kind of things happening at Nyayo House. Now, these are things that went on, that you could just walk with some money and get the registration. This is Kenya, and it's happening. It happens when there is that urgent thirst that of votes, or voters for that matter. Let's have an influx of people from outside and just ratify their citizenship, and that's it. So give them ID cards. That automatically qualifies them to become voters. So the 2012, I'm not saying that this is something, but this is rumored. It's rumored that these are things that could be happening. Of course, people who live where people of such communities are, they can tell you, even those who don't even know how to introduce themselves, even in Swahili, even to respond, they are Kenyans. And that becomes very suspect. So these are the kind of things that are happening, and looking at it from now, the perspective of the Abuja Declaration 1989, somebody, it may not really be spoken openly, neither does the executive, could the executive really understand this, because there is an agenda of Islamizing Africa. There is agenda of, Islamizing a country. There is agenda of taking up positions constitutionally. Not that they are not bound or they don't qualify. They do qualify to take up positions from whichever religion and faith. But in this case, that is an agenda that was declared in 1989. Let's make a constitution and let's get into it by the constitution. And taking up the judiciary, having these other organs that are led from a religious scope, leadership, it just explains to you what exactly is coming around. However, with this exchange and trade of voters, maybe some of these things will have to take place. So when we're coming to Martha Koome going, that's part of the religious aspect. Now coming to the political aspect, she's not been too harsh on the case of Rigathi Gachagua, and I think she would have been expected to be even more tougher and harsh. I mean, the courts themselves should not have condoned Rigathi Gachagua in any way, but I think the freedoms that the former deputy was actually exposed to were rightfully spelled in the laws. So what you're trying to say is that there is a lot that is actually leading towards the bitter exchange, the bitter fight, the tough fight that she's going to experience from the executive. Because 2027...
I'm truly not impressed by how she has performed. You literally don't feel her at all. As in, you would feel Maraga, you would feel the rest, but this one, I must admit, I interacted with her when she was in the civil society, fighting for the rights, I think, of children. And she was a force.
Yeah.
But now, I don't think so.
That's different. That's different. When
she's completely... I can't feel her.
When you're fighting with cartels and you're fighting with also the executive, because, these cartels in the legal fraternity, the lawyers themselves, they know how to play around, how to make a leader within the judiciary and how to destroy a leader within judiciary. And it all takes money. And the money is with the executive. So if we want something to be hatched that is going to be useful towards the 2027 elections, is have a judiciary that's going to dance to the tune that will be played.
Now, I'm one person who believes that, and the scripture says that the throne of God is set upon the foundation of justice.
Yeah.
Now, the church in Kenya, even as it enjoys a lot of closeness to the powers that be, should be speaking out against this kind of thing, right? At the same time, what is the possibility that the state of Kenya, corruption and all that, is a reflection of the state of the church?
You see, in the book of Isaiah, I think Isaiah chapter 6? Yes, I think it's chapter 6. When Isaiah realized who he is, that he is the prophet of God, after the death of King Uzziah, that's the time he realized the veil was removed. And he was so remorseful and repentant to God that he needed to be changed. As long as the veil has not been taken away from the religious leadership, that State House is minor compared to the authority that they serve, which is supreme, under the supreme God. Definitely that's the time that they shall be speaking something that has power, something that has force. And like in the days of Roman rule, the people who made an impact are not necessarily the leaders really that shook the Roman Empire. It is actually the believers, the disciples themselves. And so the force may not necessarily come from where they are concentrating, but from this church, the congregation, the members of the congregation, small people, are the ones whom the Holy Spirit is using today are the ones whom the Spirit of God is imparting with confidence. Confidence in the word, confidence in God, and confidence in against anything that comes against them, with the understanding of God's word. Now, these are the people who actually shall form the greatest resistance. Liken it to what is happening with the Gen Zs. People you never thought about, that generation can say anything. And all of a sudden, it explodes. It's the same thing that's going to happen with the church. Something is going to happen when the laity will do away with the priesthood and speak on their behalves as individual believers. And thanks to the social media platforms, they are speaking. And that's why you see this kind of impact. The church is speaking, but not from the pulpit.
The church is speaking, but not the pulpit.
Not from the pulpit.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're speaking from different spheres.
From different spheres, from this other side of the believers. Those are the ones who are speaking, and they're speaking from the social media platform because they can't be allowed at the pulpit. The ones who are speaking from the pulpit are delivered. Yeah. Their veil has been taken off, like that of Isaiah. They have realized we are prophets of the Most High, and we will speak as God commands. Yeah. Now,
as we look at that, there are things that are playing out, and probably you're aware of the same. The Gachagua, the former deputy president, Gachagua factor. This is, I think, the third time he's alleging that the government has reactivated the Mungiki factor within central Kenya. His wife, Dorcas Gachagua, pastor, was holding a prayer in Nyeri. And Maina Jenga, the former Mungiki leader, comes in with a group of young people and basically takes over the meeting. This is the second time he has done that. The thing that concerned me is he came in with his group and he claims to be a pastor, which he needs to prove to me, because I don't believe he even knows anything to do with that.
He doesn't.
The prayer meeting continued with him there, and they prayed, but his objective was achieved. So many questions. I mean,
well, the Mungiki factor has got several prongs of approach. I mean, of scope to view it, because the Mungiki factor can be brought up. Appease the leader, and it becomes influential to deal with the Kikuyu and fight against their own people. That's one. But the worst of it is the day it shall be declared an outlaw, because it will be declared an outlaw. And once it's being declared an outlaw, it means any youth from Mount Kenya, which was a strategy in 2007, if a government was to come in, when you outlaw an organization and an OB is written at the police station that this is a Mungiki, the ultimate things, the ultimate orders would actually read that this person must disappear, must be quarantined, must be set aside from the peace-loving Kenyans, and the person who would be endangered is a Mungiki. When you hear the description like, oh, nowadays they don't have dreadlocks alone, they're actually having haircuts like others, it means everybody else who is at an age that needs to be dealt with can be brought in. And we had questions that we had raised when we as Kenyans, Kenyans who are concerned before 2007, when that strategy was spoken, we knew that this was happening because there were these terror groups that were in existence. From Mount Kenya, you could have the Mungiki. From the Luo community, we had the Talibans. From the Luya, we had the Saboti, whatever land defense force we had. These are the Chingororo from Kisii, yes. We had the Luya, but they were not touched. And since it was a 42 against 1 agenda, which is what is being tried to be cooked right now, that the Kikuyus are tribal, whenever they sit down to discuss anything, it becomes tribal. When they are in Luya land or Nyanza or wherever, and the other day they attended with President Museveni the Pinydolu whatever cultural festival. It was not promoting Meru culture. It was not promoting Mijikenda culture. It was not to promote Rendiles. It was not to promote the Kenya Somalis. It was not to promote any of these cultures. It was to promote the Luo. And they tried to explain how it kind of has a national whatever, and that all that shenanigans did not make sense, because this is the time when they had to have a taste of their own medicine, what they've been administering to others, because they had to speak about the Luo. You've heard of Luya Nights and all these kind of things. Eh? So what I'm trying to say is that hypocrisy is terrible, because even when the leader of the nation goes to such places, he begins to say Amosi, Oyaore, what, he was in Luya land, and I could hear something like Muriho. But he could say something in Luya. He comes to Kikuyu land, yes. He says Moriega, that. The reason why you're using that one in Kikuyu land is because you are identifying that there's a tribe that lives here. What's wrong with being a Kikuyu or Luya or Luo or Rendile or somebody from whichever community or Maasai? It's just a matter of doing one thing as Kenyans. If we would exercise it, and that's why I feel so sad anytime I think about the national cohesion and integration, when they do not understand that Kenya is a formation of tribes.
Yes.
The communities are under certain tribes, and those tribes are actually 45 tribes. So they should actually have their focus hovering over the 45 tribes, the interest of the 45 tribes. But when you demonize the tribes, that's why I always speak of there is negative ethnicity and positive ethnicity. Positive ethnicity is like what they were trying to promote in Pinydolu. They were trying to promote their culture, a sense of belonging. What becomes your problem, same person, when you criticize the other person, one, he's trying to cultivate a sense of belonging to the members of that community. That's hypocrisy. What I'm trying to say is if you look at, because most of the time when they're speaking out against what Rigathi Gachagua is doing, plain and simple. And when Rigathi Gachagua goes, for instance, when Rigathi Gachagua goes to the mountain, if you listen to the people of the mountain, they will tell you now, there's a terminology, it's only that right now I'm trying to remember what it is. What he's calling people who are with him. Itugati. Itugati. Yeah, people who are with him are termed, I think, Itugati. I don't know what that means. Itugati is just a servant. Yes, servant of. He's a servant of the people. And he keeps on talking. What he's doing when he goes to Mount Kenya, because he's trying to make himself as the kingpin, he is bringing the victim mentality within Mount Kenya, telling the Mount Kenya, I'm a Mount Kenya, telling the Mount Kenya, all this, what happened to him individually happened to us. It happened to him, not to us. How do you say it happened to him when he was holding a public office which we ourselves endorsed him to represent? We actually the ones who endorsed him. We Kenyans from Mount Kenya are the ones who said, we give you this son of ours. That's how it works. It was actually President Same thing that happened with other communities. Himself who took him, because the Mount Kenya members of parliament had rejected him. So President Ruto, for his own interest, took him and said, okay, I know you want Kindiki, but I'm going to take Gachagua. So Gachagua was taken. So let me remind you. The salary he gets does not come to me. During campaigns. Yes. He knew the kind of force that he was to face. Who? The president. Then deputy president. He knew that if we take this leadership, we have the Matiangis to deal with, we have the Uhuru Kenyatas to deal with, we had the whole brigade of Jubilee to deal with. And they were prepared to ensure that he does not only become president, that he does not only rule as president, but he was not even going to become president. Remember, people like Atwoli confessed that you were never to become president because of the traps we had laid along your path. We never thought it would happen. This must be God. And when it got to that point, you don't need and I'm saying you don't need a cheerleader. You need a armor bearer. And like the story of David and Jonathan, Jonathan was a fighter as much as David was a fighter. So he needed somebody who understood what is in this war. You get the point? Yeah. But once he was done with the war and he knew that he had dealt with the war a great deal, together with his armor bearer, he had to kick out the armor bearer and bring the cheerleader and and bring somebody who would act as a cheerleader, who would just say, echo what the president says, because he was not answerable to anybody else. Like the constitution spells, he's a presidential appointee, so he has to speak the president's interest. And this other guy knew that there were issues that he was to present. He was to present and ensure that he lobbies for the implementation of these things, the resources for all these things from the government, and he had to make sure that the implementation happens. But before the implementation, he was kicked out.
So implementation
look at it this way.
Implementation
of things.
Implementation of projects in central Kenya, within Mount Kenya. But he's the deputy. He was the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya.
Read the law carefully.
Yes.
Read the law carefully.
It's true. He
is the deputy president
of the Republic of Kenya.
He is a deputy president.
Yes.
And this deputy president operates under the president. So his office is under the office of the president.
Yes.
Because he has no duties constitutionally handed to the deputy president, except what will be
assigned to
delegated to him by the president. What if the president assigns him to assist, because he's a principal assistant, to assist him on matters concerning livestock farmers' plight? He will definitely rush to Moyale and other areas where we have livestock. That's what he would do. But he will not go to address issues of livestock in Kinungi, where we have only one cow and the rest is different from what livestock is all about. So he'll go to that place. So when you're sent to coffee farmers, of course, you find the majority of them in Mount Kenya. You find another sizable group of coffee farmers in, some Rift Valley Highlands, and also some parts of Nyanza Highlands, the Kisii area, the Western Highlands, Vihiga and such, and a bit of lowlands. We have varieties of coffee that grow in places like Kangundo and Ukambani here. So what I'm trying to say is that he could visit all these places, and whatever he speaks from where there is a majority of farmers, of course it would have more impact than speaking to few farmers. But you are addressing the plight of all farmers, because once it has been legislated at the National Assembly, it is not a law for Mount Kenya. It is a law for all coffee farmers.
Yes.
So he was lobbying for all coffee farmers, all tea farmers, all dairy farmers. So whatever was to be legislated, and that's why you heard that there are some bills that were presented to the National Assembly and catching dust in the shelves since March 2023. So if this were implemented, they were not meant to benefit the people of Mount Kenya alone. They were meant to benefit every other person who falls under that category.
What I'm saying, what he's doing now, building himself up as the spokesman of the region, for him to get to that level, what he's doing is telling people, I protected you from this guy. He wanted, so he's making Mount Kenya feel like victims, people who are about to be slaughtered, and so that he can hug them as sheep.
That's a wrong,
so
that's a wrong narrative.
2027.
That's a very wrong.
And he says 2027, I will lead you to the next government. So, and what the others are saying is, you're balkanizing the nation. You are speaking for one community. So keep off, don't do that. Speak also on behalf of other people.
How many votes did Moses Wetangula, with his Ford Kenya, present to the president in 2022? From other regions. From other regions. I'm talking about Western, because they came from Western. They didn't come from other regions.
Yes.
Why? Why doesn't that bother anyone?
But
because he concentrated his campaigns in Western Kenya. Remember, during campaigns, don't forget, we have clips you can make reference to. He was not going to canvass for Ford Kenya votes for the few supporters in Mount Kenya region or in coastal region. He concentrated with Western Kenya, much as Musalia Mudavadi did with his ANC in Western Kenya. Much as, of course, Raila Odinga has a national outlook. He would go to areas where he has a stronghold. That is the coastal region, part of Ukambani. With the entry of Kalonzo Musyoka. Otherwise, if Kalonzo Musyoka was not in there, he would not have had the number of votes that he had in that place. So politics in Kenya, you have to play tribal, whether you like it or not. As long as you
politics in Kenya, you have to play tribal. So as the leaders are accusing him of being tribal, so they are
practicing tribalism themselves. When you go to listen to somebody like Sholei, Sudis and the likes, you know, they are saying mtu wetu na tutakuonyesha vile miaka 24 itatengenezwa. Nani aliongoza miaka 24? Our man Moi. You know, that's being tribal, you know. Is like Kikuyus na Mount Kenya. Kikuyus would say ati sisi tutakuonyesha miaka 20, 10, 25, something like that. Vile inatengenezwa. I mean, that is isolating others. And you see, ethnic profiling begin from very far. When you begin to isolate the people from Mount Kenya, that they should not talk like you do, then it means it's discriminative and selective and segregative.
Because I get concerned. For me, the church is the salt and the conscience
the
of
word
the
is
nation.
ought to be the salt.
Yes,
it could not be the salt,
yes,
but it ought to be the salt according to the master.
Yeah. So since the master said the church, he said we are the salt of the
salt,
and we are the light of the world. And he also said that if the salt loses its effect, it's only good to be trampled underfoot.
If we don't act like salt, then we cannot be salt.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, we ought to be salt.
Yes. So the thing is this, at a time like this, if you look at the script that is being played, the words that are being spoken, it feels like deja vu. I mean, it feels like we've been here before.
Yeah.
And the results were not good.
Yeah.
For me, if there was a time the church needed to come together and speak in one voice, saying, hey, wait a minute, we have seen this before. We said this like this and we spoke like this in 2007, and the effect we all know. We have started speaking again like this, both telling the Gachagua side and telling President William Ruto's side. Tone down on the words you're using, because these words are seeds.
Yes.
These words are seed, and the seeds, when you plant them,
they'll germinate.
They germinate, and that's why you quoted Isaiah that when Uzziah saw the Lord, the first thing
when Uzziah died,
when Uzziah died, when he saw the Lord, the first thing the angel did was to take tongues of fire and cleanse his mouth.
Yes. Because
his mouth, the mouth of people, the words that come out of the mouths of people chart the future of a generation.
Excuse me.
And that's why he said, I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips.
Yes.
And I live among people with unclean
lips.
So we ought to be telling the world, the leaders, because we have access to them, that, hey, tone down on this.
Yeah.
Your words are seeds that are germinating. and what the fruit they will bring is not the kind of fruit you're looking for.
You see, when I started saying this on this platform last year, March, that those drums sound familiar. When they were trying to, marshal the support against Rigathi Gachagua so that they can impeach him, that's around April. Since I don't wear the round collar, nobody would respect what I said.
Yes.
But that's what's happening today. When I say the drums of 2007 have started to sound just as they did in January 2007 all the way to December. The church, the priesthood, the religious communities, they ignored and they took sides and burnt Kenya. Watched Kenya burning. Same thing is happening. The devil knows that if I align the pockets of the preachers with money, then definitely they will not really do what they ought to do. But those who are beyond that kind of bribery, they will speak what God is telling them to speak. So when you had somebody like me saying these things around that time, today is the time you're realizing, oh, okay, things are not so bad. Not you. People are realizing that things are not so good. And they will become even worse than they are right now. Because the politics that are taking place, by that time, somebody would have thought this Rigiji will just get rid of him and that's it, and the politics will continue as usual and we'll implement our plan. By that time, Cherargei had already spoken about 7 years. For who? For our leader. Okay? And 7 years, another one was to come up with, you cannot go for 5 years, you go for 10 years, and that means 14 years, if the 7 years succeed, which might succeed if they deal with the not implementing the IEBC commission thing. Because if they don't appoint the commissioners in time, then the calendar for the IEBC, even if they will be appointed after February, then that means this might be pushed, and that's what they were doing. They're buying time with this kind of politics that you're seeing right now. You keep thinking, keep talking about sugarcane and bonuses and everything. You discuss. Now that's a discussion elsewhere. That is supposed to come from here, from there. But the thing is, the delay of the formation of IEBC is actually going to lead Kenya into that ditch. Because those who do not understand what is being played right now, they shall realize then that 7 years is come in and the 14 years are looming. So whether you're criticizing at this third year, the 14 years may become a reality if it goes beyond next month, because of the calendar the IEBC is supposed to depend upon. Remember, the IEBC formation for this time is not only for elections. It's for the delimitation of boundaries. So if that is not going to take place, then we will have contravened the law. And so the IEBC will be very careful not to be caught off guard. So what are they going to do? They will try to step back, to move back few steps behind schedule. And the person who possibly might come from a community that is being fought against, Mount Kenya, will now be forced to demand for the time. So you will not accuse anybody from the other side that has demanded for this because they started it. No, it is you who will demand, and it's according to the timelines and the constitution and the law. Yeah. So this strategy is being played like that. As a strategist, those are kind of things you look into. You pull this string so that the other hand can move, and that is what's being played. It has been promulgated that the 7 years can be good for this leadership, and then somebody else will come and implement the 7 years from the side that did not really call for it, and that's how it works. You watch. But it's time you listen to this other side of the pulpit. Yes. Yeah. They're saying lots of things. Yes. But we can't listen to them. Yes.
I'm really concerned about the church, because as a member of the church, dispensers of light, dispensers of the righteousness of God, dispensers of the love of God, dispensers of light, we ought to be beaming a very strong light into this country, so that before Gachagua speaks words, and he speaks them in church, before the president speaks words and he speaks them in church, they will think so many times over, because they know you speak like this, and the pastor in the church will start singing the same way they did to Moses Kuria, when Moses Kuria tried to do some monkey business in church. As in the church, we ought to respect that pulpit and who we represent.
Who ought to respect the pulpit? Is it not the pulpit users themselves?
Yes, I'm saying the pulpit users need, because you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
You treat people how to treat you.
Yeah.
We have allowed them to treat us as merchants. And that's how they're treating us, as merchants. We are business people. So that needs to change.
If you preach God, preach the Holy Spirit, the evil spirit will have no space. If you preach Jesus, the devil will have no space. Conviction will always strike, if we believe that's what the word says. But when we preach politics, of course, the politics we preach makes it a political sermon, a political church, a political whatever. So when I spoke about realizing who we really are, is when the church shall know that they ought to speak Christ and Christ alone and the power of his resurrection. And when you speak that, anyone who comes into the congregation and comes in as a human being, because he or she is somebody who is coming in to worship. But you see, when we develop that connotation that this person that this person is actually coming to address us politics, and give him a chance to address politics, and I'm not talking about Rigathi Gachagua, I'm talking about even the president himself. Every human being is subject to the rule of God. Because he rules over all the affairs of men, and who have been bestowed the power and responsibility to execute God's will. It's the believer.
Yes.
So if the believer is not performing, executing the orders from the command point, which is from heaven, and they are speaking from Wamunyoro or Bungoma or Kisumu State Lodge, or from State House Nairobi, I mean, then it means we are missing the point. So it should come to a point where consultation by the government to the church is the government to go to the church, while the church is performing the priesthood responsibility.
So the problem that Kenya faces today, we can blame it on the church.
Please, let's take the blame. Let's take the blame to a certain extent, not the whole. Not all of it, but to a certain extent. And
if we
and the church is not just the leadership.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If we were doing what we are supposed to do, do you think we'd see what we are seeing today?
Whose mercies would we attract if we do the right thing? It's God's mercy. And when you attract God's mercy, anything that would not augur well with the people, definitely God deals with it. So it's up to us. We have to change.
So instead of pointing an accusing finger at the political leader, we need to point the accusing finger at us.
What are we doing to contribute to that?
Yes. We look at us. When we change us, then the atmosphere within the country and the environment will change.
Yes. In the universal understanding of pointing a finger to somebody, there's always been that cliche, please respond to the three questions, or the questions of the finger on the fingers that are pointing at you. These are the questions we are supposed to figure out. What's my part? What's my role? Who am I? Who do I serve? Who do I believe in? You know, what's my interest? All these things, once you respond to this, what's my part in all that has gone wrong? Once I respond to these questions, it will be very easy to address this other side.
Yes.
You know, and if this side is changed, then this other person will definitely change. Sit down with me and insult me, or I insult you, and you refuse to insult back, I'll get tired and give up.
True.
So we have to change.
All right.
Let's be the change.
Very, very important, because I believe that we are the ones who are causing the world to taste the way it tastes, because we are the salt of this earth. And if the food is not tasting good, it simply shows that there's something about the salt that is off. We are supposed to preserve our salt, and we are supposed to give good taste to the food. Now, if the preservation looks like it's been weakened, it shows what actually is being weakened. We need to speak out. We need to stand firm, not as different churches. We need to stand as one and speak the same language. We learned this during the recent election, and when the Gen Zs went on demonstration, they targeted the church, saying that, you know, the church was part and parcel of the government, because we had played too close. We stayed too close to a point whereby we couldn't tell the king is naked. We need to get back and get to a position where, like John the Baptist, we can tell Herod that marrying the wife of your brother is wrong. We need to be able to tell the king what needs to be said. So with that, we got to bring down the curtains on the show. Do have yourself a lovely morning. Remember, the daughters of the kingdom will be here later on at around 11 to have some interesting conversations about what is happening in the kingdom when it comes to our ladies. Good morning.